Starting off attending to our listener with the subject of attending. See what I did there?
I did, yes. Very, very, very clever, Ken. And I think attending is one of those skills that is sometimes mentioned, but sometimes isn't given enough focus and importance. And I've always said, and those who've listened to the podcast, for a long time, will know that I compare the opening of therapy to the opening of theatre, where, the protagonists come onto the stage, the curtain opens, and there we have it, the beginnings of that engagement. And I think that part of that is to make sure that the client is comfortable. We're starting to build the process of therapeutic engagement, and we do that right from the beginning. And if I was thinking about my practice, when I worked face to face, I would say, things like that, did you get here okay? Or, good to see you, you got to get here okay, in that 5 minutes. But also attuning to the client. And when I say attuning, it's the process of, listening right from the beginning, the client's with you. And are they saying things like, well, I think the room's a bit too hot, or this chair's uncomfortable, or they may, if you're having to move rooms for the colleagues who, or even, student colleagues who may use different practice rooms because of how they're booked out, maybe about picking up from the client, oh, this is a different room today. The room's different. And that is your cue to attend and say, yes, we have moved rooms. I was wondering, how this feels for you. Because, we are about producing safety, containment, and making sure that we're really in service of the clients. And that starts with attending right from the beginning that we meet them.
I love that you've brought this, Rory, and I agree with you that it is a topic that is seldom covered. I mean, I think you cover it when you're doing your counselling studies. They'll mention attending and kind of tell you what it is, and then you're going to move on. And the focus is all on what you do when you sit down and you start that engagement, your active listening, the skills you're going to use, the contracting you're going to do. But there's a part before that where you have this meeting with this person, maybe a new person coming in, maybe somebody returning after many, many, many sessions. There's an interaction. There's a human to human contact as you kind of meet that person as they walk into the environment, or you will go and get them from wherever they are. And that is where the attending starts. Who are we within that moment? And you mentioned how we show up. And we're talking about that unconditional positive regard, not when they sit down and they start bringing their content. For them, the trip, what was going on in their life before they came in. And we need to recognize, specifically if we're working face to face within a room, a person has a journey to get there. They've got a journey they've gone through. If we're working online, they might have just come out of their day-to-day life. They could have been washing the dishes just 2 minutes earlier before coming down with us, and just checking in with that person. How are they? Where are they at? So important, that attending to that person.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think attending goes through the arc of our engagement with clients. We may have a situation where we're working with a client, and I mean, I've had it in my practice, certainly as a student, where I was working with a client, and in the room opposite, there were loud and aggressive voices, and I felt I had to attend and just to check if the client was okay, and to reinforce that that person was safe, and to really acknowledge what was going on. I think sometimes there is a tendency for therapists maybe to kind of think, well, I'll keep focused on the clients and I won't think of the distraction. But sometimes, it sometimes literally can be an elephant in the room.
Yep.
It certainly was when there was a strong, shall we say, a strong exchange of words in the corridor outside. And you need to address that. And I think crucially, attending is something that we do as we come to the end of the therapeutic session, when we're talking about that decompression, where we're helping the client adjust from the high emotion that may be expressed, the personal reflection they may carry, and we're helping them to adjust back into the world they came out of. So we have to be thoughtful. And examples of that could be acknowledging that they're going back into the world they came from an hour ago. And, even, if you're working like I am today, I've got the window, the blinds open, and, you can see it's raining outside, saying, oh, gosh, I notice it's wet outside, trying to normalize the environment they'll be going back into.
Yeah. I'm thinking of driving a car, and I'm thinking of the gear changes. And attending feels very much like those gear changes. And they come at different parts in the journey. So when somebody just arrives, they're changing gear to come into therapy, and there will be an opportunity for attending. Somebody knocks on your door mid-therapy, there is an opportunity to attend. The noise outside, the elephant in the room, as you called it, Rory. The movement from the therapeutic protection of the relationship within the room back into their life. What are they going back into? What does that look like for them? What does that feel like for them? Acknowledging that, and once again, acknowledging that there is a shift in gear as that person moves on. And I know you've put together a super duper Rory handout for this, Rory.
Do you know, I have, it's true. And I think it's so important. And if you want that handout, if you go to counsellingtutor.com, look for the podcast tab, give it a click, you find it, it's top of the page, episode 210. That handout's waiting for you. Just give it a click, and you can download it, and it will give you some really good tips and overviews and food for thought on attending. So it's such an important skill, Ken.
And I think very, very seldom spoke about or revisited. And maybe there's a challenge, specifically if you're a more seasoned practitioner. Revisit that. Have a think. Has that just become a blur of saying hi to the next client, or is there active attending taking place?
I like that, Ken, because I think attending, and I often refer to it when I taught as being present, means that you are actually the only person in the world is the person sat in front of you, that you can bracket off what's going on for you in the outside world, but totally focus on the person in front. And I think that's a mindset shift, because we all have busy lives. But I know that when I, work online with clients, I actually make a point of physically shutting my door for a few seconds before I go online with them. Or even when I was face to face, I would sit in the room for a few minutes before they came, just to put myself into that kind of space of the person in front of me is the only person in the world.
I like it. I'm very grateful that you brought the topic, Rory. And again, this is why we revisit those counselling foundations. They're the foundations on which we build our practice. And every single one of the stones we lay on those foundations make such a big difference.